The Life of Lamine Yamal. Introduction, Early Life, Family, and Background. Youth Career, First Steps in Football, La Masia. Rise to Fame, joining Barcelona First Team. International Career, playing for Spain. Challenges and Triumphs, Injuries, Setbacks, and Growth. Style of Play and Influence, Skills, Comparisons, and Legacy. Personal Life and Character, Off-Pitch Life, Personality. Looking to the Future, Potential and Legacy. Born for the Beautiful Game, The Birth of a Star. In the bustling neighborhood of Esplugues de Llobregat, a town near the vibrant city of Barcelona, Spain, the sun shone down on a warm summer day, July 13, 2007. It was on this day that a boy was born who would go on to carry not just the hopes of a city or a country, but the imagination of football fans around the globe. His name was Lamine Yamal Nasraoui Ebana. Born to a Moroccan father and Equatorial Guinean mother, Lamine grew up in a multicultural household where the languages of love, discipline, and ambition were spoken daily. His early life was shaped by modest beginnings. His family wasn't rich, but it was full of support and values. His parents worked hard to make sure Lamine and his siblings had opportunities they never had. Football wasn't just a game in the Yamal household. It was a tradition. From the moment he could walk, Lamine had a ball at his feet, whether in the hallways of their apartment or in the local playgrounds of Mataró. He chased after the ball with an energy that was electric. Even as a toddler, he was different. At 3 years old, he could dribble past older children. At 4, he watched FC Barcelona matches with laser focus, mimicking the movements of Messi and Iniesta, often trying to reenact their goals in the narrow corridors of his home. He used to sleep with a football, his mother once said. Not a teddy bear, a football. Childhood with the ball. His love for the game grew wild and untamed like a sunflower stretching toward the Catalan sun. Every free moment was spent with a ball, on playgrounds, in parking lots, on narrow side streets, wherever there was space to kick, Lamine was there. Local neighbors began to talk about him. "That boy," they'd whisper, "he's going to be something." At 6, his father signed him up for a local youth football academy. Coaches immediately noticed his vision, balance, and most of all, his confidence. He wasn't just good, he was special. His ability to dribble in tight spaces, combined with an almost telepathic sense of positioning, made him a standout even among older kids. The eyes of Barcelona. It didn't take long for FC Barcelona scouts to hear the whispers about the boy from Mataró. At the age of 7, he was invited for a trial at La Masia, Barcelona's legendary youth academy. These walls had nurtured legends, Xavi, Puyol, Iniesta, and Messi. And now they were about to welcome a new prodigy. The moment Lamine stepped onto the pristine training pitches at La Masia, he was fearless. In his first game, he nutmegged a defender twice, scored a goal, and assisted another. Coaches exchanged looks of awe. "He wasn't just playing, he was telling a story with the ball," said one scout. He was immediately accepted into the academy. His journey had officially begun. Life inside La Masia. Living at La Masia is a dream for most, but it's not without its sacrifices. Lamine had to leave home young. He missed family dinners, weekend outings, and the simple warmth of sleeping in his own bed. But he also gained something rare: discipline, structure, and elite football education. Every day, Lamine trained with the best of his generation. Mornings were for schoolwork, afternoons for training, and evenings for tactical learning and self-reflection. His teachers admired his humility, while his coaches praised his creativity. At 10 years old, he was already playing with the U12s. By 12, he was being compared to Ansu Fati and Lionel Messi. But what made Lamine special wasn't just talent, it was mentality. He never bragged. He listened more than he talked. He never stopped working. He wasn't just dreaming of being a professional footballer, he was living like one already. The spark before the fire. By the time Lamine was 13, he was considered one of the brightest prospects in world football. Videos of his highlights were being circulated online. Fans began to whisper, "This kid might be the next big thing." Clubs across Europe, Manchester City, PSG, Bayern Munich, watched him with hungry eyes. But Lamine had no doubts. "I'm from Barcelona," he said in an early interview, "and I want to make history here." Even as a boy, his vision was bigger than fame. He didn't just want to play, he wanted to be remembered. And with that, the first chapter of his story came to a close, not as an end, but as the beginning of something far greater.
The making of a prodigy at La Masia, where legends are forged. La Masia isn't just a training center, it's a sacred ground in football. Built to nurture not just great athletes, but complete human beings, it emphasizes discipline, intelligence, humility, and vision. For young Lamine Yamal, this was the perfect crucible. By the time he turned 8 years old, Lamine was already a standout in his age group. Coaches began tailoring sessions around his unique strengths, his agility, dribbling, and ability to read space. He wasn't just scoring goals, he was creating magic. Sometimes he played as a false nine, other times as a right winger. But wherever he played, defenders were always left behind. One particular coach recalled, "Lamine could take on 4 players and still have the awareness to pick the right pass. He didn't play like a child, he played like a professional." The boy among men. By the time he reached U13 level, Lamine was consistently playing against boys 2 or 3 years older. Most players would be intimidated, but not him. His growth had accelerated. He had bulked up slightly, his footwork sharper, his left foot terrifyingly precise. His standout qualities, dribbling at speed. Like Messi, Lamine could glide past defenders with close control. Vision. He saw passes others didn't. Left-footed genius, his curling shots and crosses always had defenders on edge. At age 14, during a youth tournament in France, he dominated the opposition. He scored 6 goals in 5 games and made the tournament's best 11. But what caught scouts' attention wasn't just the stats. It was his calm, almost cold ability to take control of games at such a young age. "He doesn't panic, he doesn't force, he orchestrates," one French scout remarked. Rise through the ranks. By the time he was 15, whispers had turned into noise. Spanish press started publishing short stories and feature pieces calling him the new pearl of La Masia. People were watching him, analyzing his every touch. That kind of attention breaks many kids, but not Lamine. He stayed grounded. He remained silent in interviews, always giving credit to his teammates, coaches, and family. At this time, Ansu Fati had already made his name in the senior team, and fans were eager to see who would follow. The club had one answer: Lamine Yamal. He began training with the Juvenil A, or U19 side, the final step before professional football. He wasn't just holding his own, he was dominating. The coaching staff began fast-tracking him through the ranks. During one legendary match against Real Madrid's academy, Lamine scored a solo goal where he beat 4 players and chipped the keeper. That goal went viral online. Former players started noticing. Even Xavi Hernandez, Barcelona's coach at the time, was quietly watching.
Balancing stardom and school. Despite his rising fame, Lamine still had to study. Like every La Masia player, he attended school in the mornings and trained in the afternoons. It was a tough balance. Some days were exhausting, especially after travel games or media appearances. He loved history and physical education, but found math difficult. Tutors helped him stay afloat academically, but it was clear his real gift was on the pitch. Still, his family insisted. Football is not forever. Education is. Lamine never forgot that. Hard lessons. No journey is without setbacks. In his 15th year, Lamine picked up a hamstring injury. It wasn't serious, but it kept him out for 6 weeks. During that time, he struggled emotionally. It was the first time he felt helpless, said a former teammate. He watched from the sidelines as others played. Doubts crept in. Will I come back the same? But he used the time to grow mentally. He studied match footage, learned more about tactics, and returned stronger, sharper, and smarter.
At 15 years and 6 months, he was called up to Barcelona B for a training session. That's a big deal. Even great talents don't usually get that chance so young. In his first session, he faced hardened professionals, older, stronger, faster. But he impressed everyone with his fearlessness and intelligence. He wasn't trying to be flashy. He was efficient, deadly, and controlled. One Barcelona B coach said he looked like he belonged. This was a clear message to the club. He was ready for more. Attention from the world. As his fame grew, international clubs began sniffing around. Chelsea, Bayern, PSG, and Man City reportedly inquired about him. But Barcelona moved quickly. At 16, he signed a professional contract with a high release clause. The club believed in him. They protected him. But Lamine wanted to give back. His performances became even more electric. He was scoring bangers, assisting with no-look passes, and earning standing ovations from youth fans. A style all his own. By the end of his youth years, Lamine had created a unique identity. Left-footed magician, smart, not selfish, calm under pressure, plays with joy like he's dancing. He was called the left-footed symphony. But most importantly, he respected the badge. Even when he scored, he pointed to the sky or hugged teammates, never arrogant, always grateful.
Rise to fame. Barcelona's youngest star. The senior team beckons. It was the spring of 2023, and Lamine Yamal had just turned 15 years old. He had already torn apart youth leagues, dominated elite tournaments, and trained with Barcelona B. But now came a moment that would change his life forever. Xavi Hernandez, Barcelona's head coach and club legend, shocked the world when he announced the inclusion of Lamine Yamal in the senior squad for an upcoming La Liga match. He's ready. He's different, Xavi said, brushing off concerns about Yamal's young age. He plays with maturity beyond his years. The world took notice. Spanish media exploded. The youngest to ever do it? They asked. Social media flooded with highlight reels, and fans waited with bated breath. Then came the fateful day, April 29th, 2023, Barcelona versus Real Betis at the iconic Camp Nou. The debut. History made. In the 83rd minute, with Barcelona leading 3-0, the fourth official lifted the board. The number 41 was going off. In came number 27, Lamine Yamal, just 15 years and 290 days old. The crowd stood. They clapped. They roared. He was the youngest player to ever debut for Barcelona's first team in La Liga. And he didn't disappoint. In just 7 minutes, he showed flair, confidence, and skill. He even created a chance, cutting inside and curling a left-footed shot that the goalkeeper barely saved. It wasn't a goal, but it was a statement. "I wasn't nervous," he said after the game. "I was just happy." The media went wild. Newspapers called him El Niño de Oro, the Golden Boy. TV shows analyzed every step he took. Barcelona fans, they had fallen in love. Rising faster than ever. The debut was no fluke.
Lamine continued training with the senior squad and appeared again that season. He remained calm under pressure and always played with purpose. Over the summer, Barcelona renewed his contract. They weren't taking chances. Release clause? Over €1 billion. The message was clear. He belongs to Barcelona. Xavi continued to trust him, integrating him slowly but surely. In August 2023, Yamal became the youngest starter for Barcelona in La Liga, and not long after, against Villarreal, he registered his first assist, slicing open the defense with a perfect paul. Then the magic moment. September 2023 versus Granada. Lamine Yamal scores his first La Liga goal. A smart run to the far post, a tap-in after beating his marker. It wasn't flashy, but it was important. He became the youngest goalscorer in La Liga history at 16 years and 87 days. He plays with joy, like he's dancing. He was called the left-footed symphony. But most importantly, he respected the badge. Even when he scored, he pointed to the sky or hugged teammates. Never arrogant, always grateful.
Adored by the fans. At Camp Nou, later Montjuic, fans now wore shirts with Yamal 27. Kids mimicked his style. Grown men praised his maturity. His dribbling? Silky. His assists? Laser sharp. His attitude? Unshakably humble. Barcelona saw him as the next face of their youth movement. After Messi, after Fati, they believed Yamal could be the one. But it wasn't just about stats. It was about how he made fans feel. The way he smiled after a clever pass, the joy in his eyes when teammates scored. Football had become fun again. Media pressure and global attention. With fame came scrutiny. Interviews, sponsorship offers, and tabloid coverage followed. Nike signed him to a long-term deal. Reporters asked about his private life. Analysts debated his potential endlessly. But Yamal stayed grounded. His father shielded him from toxic press. His mother kept him close to their roots. The club provided psychological support, media training, and a strict schedule to ensure his health, mentally and physically. "I just want to play," he would repeat. And play he did. Big nights in Europe. Yamal's talent wasn't limited to domestic football. In October 2023, he made his Champions League debut, becoming the youngest player to ever feature for Barcelona in the competition. Against Shakhtar Donetsk, he didn't just participate, he dazzled. Twisting defenders, delivering crosses, and nearly scoring a stunner from distance. The football world buzzed. This kid's already elite. His performances earned praise from legends like Thierry Henry, Rio Ferdinand, and even Lionel Messi himself, who reportedly sent a private message: "Enjoy the game. Stay humble. Keep working." International fame begins. Around this time, Spain came calling. Though eligible for Morocco and Ecuadorian Guinea, Lamine chose to represent Spain, the country of his birth and football roots. In September 2023, he made his debut for the Spanish senior national team, and once again made history as their youngest ever player and goal scorer. Against Georgia in a UEFA Euro qualifier, Yamal scored a beautiful goal. Clean finish, edge of the box, after weaving through defenders. Spain won 7-1, but the headlines? Yamal, the future of the Roja. Plays with joy, like he's dancing. He was called the left-footed symphony. But most importantly, he respected the badge. Even when he scored, he pointed to the sky or hugged teammates. Never arrogant, always grateful.
The legacy starts now. Within just 1 year of stepping into senior football, Lamine Yamal had debuted in La Liga and Champions League, become the youngest goal scorer for both Barcelona and Spain, delivered multiple assists and clutch plays, captured the imagination of fans across the globe. He wasn't just a promise anymore. He was performing at the highest level week after week. And the best part? He was only 16 years old. The humble star. Despite fame, Yamal remained modest. He still lived with his parents, still played video games with childhood friends. He often visited La Masia, talking to younger players, reminding them, "I was just like you. Keep working. Stay humble." He trained harder than ever, working on his right foot, defensive positioning, and strength. He wanted to be more than just a dribbler. He wanted to be complete. International career, wearing the colors of Spain. The choice of a nation. As Lamine Yamal began rising through the ranks at FC Barcelona, international football loomed like a question waiting to be answered. Born in Spain, but with a Moroccan father and an Equatoguinean mother, Yamal was eligible to represent 3 countries. Each nation hoped he'd choose them. Morocco's fans called him the next Hakimi. Equatorial Guinea hailed him as their greatest ever. But Spain had something else. Home. Having grown up in Catalonia, trained at La Masia, and been a part of Spain's youth national teams since U15, Yamal felt a deep connection to the Spanish crest. "Spain is where I was born, where I grew up. It's part of me," he said when asked about his decision. He had represented Spain at youth levels, U15, U16, U17, and now at just 16 years old, he was knocking on the door of the senior national team. The historic call-up. The call came in September 2023. Luis de la Fuente, Spain's senior national coach, named Lamine Yamal in the squad for the UEFA Euro 2024 qualifiers. Critics called it premature. Some were cautious, but fans, they were thrilled. He was young, fearless, and already dazzling in La Liga. Spain was set to face Georgia and Cyprus, and the whole country tuned in to see if this teenager could live up to the growing legend. He did more than that.
Euro 2024 on the horizon. With the UEFA Euro 2024 tournament approaching, Yamal was named in the final 23-man squad for Spain, a decision that stirred both excitement and caution. Spain was in a transitional phase, moving from the tiki-taka era toward a more aggressive, high-intensity style. Yamal fit perfectly. He wasn't expected to start every game, but he was the X factor. Pundits said, "He might not be the star yet, but he will decide moments." On and off the field. Away from the pitch, Yamal's profile soared. He appeared in ads, gave occasional interviews, and participated in campaigns for youth education, especially for minority kids in football. He visited schools, donated boots to local academies, and stayed connected to the neighborhoods where he once played barefoot. In every way, he remained grounded. A nation's future. By the time the Euro tournament began, Lamine Yamal was no longer just a promising teenager. He was one of Spain's key attacking weapons. He had speed, he had vision, he had creativity. But most of all, he had the belief of a nation. Whether Spain won the tournament or not didn't matter. What mattered was that the future had arrived, and his name was Lamine Yamal. Challenges and triumphs. Fighting through the pressure. The reality of fame. Lamine Yamal had become a household name. In less than 2 years, he had broken age records at both Barcelona and Spain, starred in domestic and international matches, and become the symbol of a new generation. But while millions celebrated him, expectations grew unbearably high. Can he be the next Messi? Will he carry Barcelona and Spain for the next decade? What if he fails? These questions weren't just asked, they were demanded. And Yamal, still a teenager, had to find a way to carry the weight. The physical toll. The 2024-2025 season began with intensity. Barcelona, under pressure to return to Champions League glory, relied heavily on Yamal's creativity. Week after week, he featured in starting 11s, often playing full 90-minute matches. By mid-season, signs of fatigue began to show. In a match against Sevilla, Yamal pulled up after a sprint, his hand on his hamstring. He limped off, and fans held their breath. The diagnosis? A minor muscle strain, out for 4 weeks. While not career-threatening, it was Yamal's first real physical setback in senior football. He used the time to recover slowly, avoid re-injury, and study match film. "This injury taught me that my body is my engine. I must protect it.